Today, we're going to talk about something really different, a fundamental shift in how we protect children. It's not just about reacting to a crisis after it happens, but actually stopping it before it even starts. And this whole revolution is happening in the Indian state of Odisha, where they are literally rewiring their entire system for child safety. So what does this rewiring actually look like? Well, take a look. On the left, that's the old way, a system that basically waits for a child to be harmed and then it steps in. It's all about welfare and enforcement after the fact. But on the right, that's the future, a proactive, data-driven system that puts adolescents at the center and is all about prevention. It's a huge shift from just providing welfare to actual governance. But, why was this massive change so desperately needed in the first place? To really get that, we need to take a hard look at the cracks in the old system. Here's the tragic truth. Most child protection systems, historically, are designed to be a step behind. They wait for a child to fall through the cracks before they even think about offering a hand. And this isn't just inefficient, right? It's a fundamental failure that ends up treating a child's safety like an afterthought, not the absolute priority it should be. Now, for a state like Odisha, this wasn't just some philosophical debate. It was a real demographic and social crisis that was brewing, and it demanded urgent, radical action. This was a ticking clock. This really paints the picture of the perfect storm that was happening in Odisha. You've got a shrinking youth population in a state that is overwhelmingly rural. And on top of that, almost 40% of the people belong to marginalized communities. It's just a recipe for vulnerability, where problems can spiral out of control really, really fast. And the warning signs? They were just impossible to ignore. A sex ratio of just 894 girls for every 1,000 boys. I mean, that points to a deep, deep-seated gender bias that puts girls at risk from the very moment they're born. And it gets worse. In just a single year, over 1,100 people were trafficked from Odisha, and among them were 140 young girls whose childhoods were literally stolen for profit. This isn't just an abstract number. It's a blaring signal that the system was failing its most vulnerable people. And in that exact same year, this is the number of children who were officially registered as missing. You see, these aren't just statistics on a page. They represent a crisis that demanded a completely new way of thinking. So, faced with this reality, Odisha's leaders knew that making small tweaks just wasn't going to cut it. No, they needed to completely rewire their entire approach to child protection right from the ground up. This quote captures the entire shift in thinking perfectly. Child protection is no longer seen as just some charitable act, a welfare obligation. It's now viewed as a fundamental responsibility of the state, a governance priority. It's about building a permanent, strong system, not just offering a handout when things go wrong. And this new governance approach is built on 4 really strong pillars. It all starts at the grassroots by strengthening families. Then, it empowers whole communities with surveillance. It forces different government institutions to actually work together. And finally, it builds in accountability at every single level. Okay, so that's the philosophy, but how does this actually translate into action on the ground? Let's take a look at the interlocking programs that have created what they're calling a new architecture of protection. These 4 big initiatives are really the heart of the system. First, you've got the SAP, which is the legal blueprint for everything. Then there's ADVIKA, a super powerful program for empowering adolescents. Jashoda acts as that crucial social safety net for families. And SUBHADRA delivers economic freedom, which is so important, especially for women. Together, they create this amazing, multi-layered defense system for every single child. Let's start with ADVIKA, because this is where things get really, really exciting. This program doesn't just help adolescents, it turns them into the heroes of their own communities. They become the first line of defense for themselves and for their friends. And the scale of this is just staggering. We are talking about a network of over 174,000 peer educators. They're known locally by names that translate to friends and companions. This is basically a youth-led revolution in community safety. It's incredible. And these young people, they aren't just attending workshops, They are trained to be the eyes and ears of their communities. They actually function as first responders, actively working to spot risks, prevent child marriages, and fight trafficking and abuse right where it starts. But preventing harm isn't just about empowerment. It also requires a strong safety net to catch families before they fall into crisis. And this is where programs that provide social and economic protection, like Jashoda and SUBHADRA, become absolutely essential. And the impact is just huge. The Jashoda and Ashirbad programs give direct support to over 52,000 vulnerable kids, keeping them out of child labor and early marriage by making their family life more stable. And then you have the SUBHADRA scheme, which has empowered over 11 million women with their very own bank accounts. I mean, that's not just financial inclusion. That is a revolution. It gives women the power to resist pressure to marry off their daughters early. So the theory sounds great. The programs look amazing. But here's the big question. Does it actually work? Let's look at the results. This number pretty much says it all. In just 5 years, over 14,000 child marriages have been prevented. That is 14,000 girls who get to have a childhood, get an education, get to have a future. Every single one of those is a life that has been totally transformed. And the impact is visible all over the place. You now have over 13,000 villages that have declared themselves child marriage free. A massive, decentralized vigilance system has been created with tens of thousands of new officers. And you have practical defenses in place, like help desks at major railway stations to intercept trafficking. It's a system that's working. So what Odisha has done here is incredible. They've shown us what's possible when we stop waiting for children to get hurt and start building systems to protect them from the very beginning. The question now is, who's going to be next? Could this be the model, the blueprint, that finally ends the global crisis of child vulnerability?